WHGE 95.3 FM coming up. The Open Eye. Yeah. All right. Here we go. All right.
Those of us that indulge in or commit intellectual violence don't do so for the pleasure of mental masturbation or ego diddling. We do so because the chains of oppression on our people's minds are deep and difficult to remove.
Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to the Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM. I'm your host, Third Eye Optometrist Patrice Gibbs, here to get them started. Yes, sir. And as we always tell you, every generation has its purpose. Ours is to reveal the truth and reverse the brainwashing. And that's what we do right here on WHGE 95.3 FM. Yeah, buddy, on the Open Eye. Let me start with some PSA here. Okay. Are you a homeless vet or in danger of homelessness? Do you know someone that is a homeless vet? I would advise you very strongly to contact the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets to get assistance with emergency housing and permanent housing. Through the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets Supported Services with Veterans Families program, you can get off the street, out of the shelter, out of the expensive hotel that you really can't afford. Call Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Ask about their supportive services for Veteran Families program at 302-842-2119. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. They are determined to help veterans get off the street. Delaware Center for Homeless Vets, changing veterans' lives all over Delaware. All right. Let me get my disclaimer out the way. Let's see. Here we go. All right. Hey, Steve, I see you.
Opinions expressed on Open Eye are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and do not reflect the policy or position of WHGE 95.3 FM, nor our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Any content provided by Open Eye's hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, company, or individual.
WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Yeah, we're going to get them started. Let's see here. All right. Visiting space aliens upon seeing humans oppress or kill one another over who they worship, who they sleep with, what side of an arbitrary line they're born on, or how absorptive their skin is to sunlight, will surely race home and report no sign of intelligent life on Earth. Yeah, it sure would. Yeah. Well, boom, coke as life. Yeah. It was it coke as ice, and everybody likes a little ice. Coca-Cola. How about something at the border wall? Coca-Cola, Coke-Cause ice, Coke ass. Man, I wouldn't drink that crap if I were you. I used to drink it. I sure did. That's probably how I became diabetic, drinking that sugary stuff that damn near killed me. Gave me a goddamn heart attack. It sure did. Yeah. Now, as I said, Coke as ice. Notice how I said that. And everybody likes a little ice. Yeah, Coke called ice on this Hispanic employees. And you know, it's something, they're going to bite the dust for that because Coke is one of the favorite drinks. You ever seen Hispanic people in the supermarket? Man, they loading up on some Coke. I bet they don't do that now. Coke has ice and everybody likes a little ice. Coca-Cola, how about something at the border wall? Yeah, because that's where they're going to take you down to, the border. Coca-Cola, baby. Yeah. I see Hispanic people putting that crap back, ain't they? Yeah, and they should. I was just talking about religion when I was talking about where aliens see when they come here. You know, believing the religious practices of your ancestors are evil, while believing the religious practices of those who were evil to you and to your ancestors are divine, is just crazy. What is wrong with y'all? I seen people on there, it's something. I saw a sister talking about this, and it took her to tears, man. And she was talking about, how people criticize her for not worshiping, okay, but recognizing and what's the word I'm looking for here? Paying homage to her ancestors. That's word. And that we definitely should do. And it's something I talked last week about how you got these people running around, black people claiming to be Native Americans. Running around, like my man, that's on TikTok. Jeez Louise, I'm bad with names. At any rate, he said, they run around with hot glue and pigeon feathers, putting that stuff in their hair. And no, I'm not African. I'm not. There was no slave ships. And how the slaves get here? How do white people get here? It's so goddamn dumb. Read a book. Jeez Louise, and you want to deny, and they teaching you that. I seen this brother. He's saying how he's seen on, different news programs and this, that, and the other, how they advise our people not to go to Africa. And he gets on the plane, and ain't nothing but white people on the plane. And they can't wait to get there. The beaches are off the hook. Okay? Accra is comparable to New York City easily. Easily. The nightlife is great. The restaurants are, food is off the hook. The street vendors. If you ever traveled and you didn't get no street food because, you were afraid because of the propaganda. Mm-hmm. And I seen an African brother. All right? And he said when he got here, them white people got a hold of him and told him, hey, stay away from them African Americans. Stay away from them because that had you all messed up. All they do is shoot at each other and do drugs and see how many baby mamas they can collect and how many baby daddies. Oh, they just had the man thinking we was awful people. Mm-hmm. And then, at the same time, they telling us, them Africans don't like you. They ain't nothing but tethers. And got some of our people feeding into that crap. Oh, Africa's just awful. And it ain't got no history. Why would you want to be part of that anyway? Stop. Are you kidding me? Like I told you, I'm not going to argue with you about my mother. I'm going to tell you about it. Because Africa was once a world power. The story of its dominance, wealth, and influence in shaping global civilization is untold. We all know ancient Egypt, one of the earliest and most advanced societies, thrived along the Nile River, known for its monumental architecture, like the pyramids and temples. It made significant contributions to mathematics, medicine, and governance. And it was the hub of trade, connecting Africa with Europe and Asia. And to the south, the kingdom of Kush, which is in present-day Sudan, rivaled Africa, even ruling it during certain periods. And they had more pyramids, many more pyramids. And Kush was renowned for its wealth, advanced ironworking, and massive temples. That's right, Sister Sherry, Brother Warren, I see. Yes, indeed, Sister Sherry. If Africa is so bad, then how come the white people are getting there and moving there? Now, in North Africa, the Phoenician city-state of Carthage, located in modern Tunisia, became a dominant Mediterranean power. Carthage excelled in trade and naval warfare and famously kicked Romans' ass in one of the Punic Wars. Meanwhile, in West Africa, the Mali Empire rose to prominence through its immense wealth derived from controlling the gold and salt trade routes. And under the leadership of Mansa Musa, considered one of the wealthiest individuals in history, not one of the wealthiest. The empire reached its peak, and cities like Timbuktu became global centers of learning and culture, and still are. Now, after Mali's decline, the Songhai Empire emerged as a powerful successor, becoming one of the largest empires in African history. Songhai was known for its effective governance, flourishing trade, and advanced centers of Islamic scholarship. Further south, Great Zimbabwe stood as a symbol of Southern Africa's prominence and its impressive stone structures and vast trade networks that connected to the Indian Ocean. Africa's civilizations shaped world history, influencing global trade, culture, and knowledge. However, the continent's dominance declined during the colonial era, when European powers exploited its people and resources. Now, despite this, Africa's legacy as a cradle of civilization and a center of innovation remains undeniable. And the continent continues to reclaim its place as a significant force in modern world. If the lion refuses to tell his own side of the stories will always go in favor to the hunter's perspective. That's something Patrice Lumumba always said. That's right. Oh, and you think they playing over there? You think they playing with the Trump Musk regime? They're not. They're not. Ghana, they closed all the American bases, kicked them the hell out. I've been talking about Burkina Faso for weeks. Look for them to be a major player in the electric vehicle. And South Africa, oh yeah, South Africa said, wait a minute, how dare you get involved in our internal policy? Because these white people that came over here and sold the land and got 80% of our wealth, that's not going to stand. We're not going to continue to live as a colony. So America said, well, the Trump regime, the Trump Musk regime, oh, then we're going to put sanctions on you. Oh, you're going to put sanctions on us. Oh, bring it. Bring it. All right? Because y'all been making a lot of money over here. So South Africa has officially suspended all American businesses within South African territory. And this comes just a few days after the Orange disaster cut off all funding from the U.S. to South Africa. They said, keep your goddamn money. The South African government made it clear to Trump that America is nothing without minerals from Africa. And if he thinks Africans are nothing more than mere beggars, then he should go look for minerals elsewhere, because Africa is tired of the blatant disrespect and disregard they keep getting from the Western world. The U.S. makes over $25 billion in profits from South Africa annually. This is going to affect both the American and South African economy. But no African country has ever stood against the United States like this. South Africa is doing well. And yes, Sister Sherry, Ibrahim Toure, has been 18 assassination attempts. The president of Burkina Faso. 18. Yeah, that's word. It's just crazy. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. WHGE 95.3 FM. In, what was it, 2020, we had protests here. Okay. Took down some statues that they should have been taken down. Took down that statue of Cristobal Colon, who you know is the murderous Christopher Columbus. Took that statue down. They was afraid that the protesters who were protesting the murder of George Floyd would destroy the statue. Wouldn't have been a bad idea. And they took down the statue of Caesar Rodney. Wilmington, what are you thinking about? This is outrageous. They're talking about reinstating the Caesar Rodney statue on February 27th, during Black History Month. Oh yeah. They're going to have an event. Thursday, February 27th, be there. It's going to be from 5:30 to 8 o'clock. It's an absolute insult, hosting an event to honor an enslaver during Black History Month at a public institution meant to serve the entire community. It's just unacceptable. They would never honor a Nazi Jewish History Month during Jewish History Month. So why they think it's appropriate to celebrate a man who owned black people during the month meant to uplift black history and truth? Yeah. Caesar Rodney's legacy must be told in full, not sanitized, not glorified. He was a slave owner, and there's no place for celebrating those who upheld oppression. Can't have glorification of an enslaver during Black History Month. Oh, and this is not a Wilmington Library sponsored event. Okay? So make sure you attend, protest, and demand the truth in history. All right? That's from City Councilwoman Shanae Darby. And just so you didn't know, just so in case you didn't know, yes, Caesar Rodney was an enslaver, an aristocrat, noble Englishman who immigrated to America and was known as a strong advocate in declaring freedom from Britain for so-called white Americans. Meanwhile, he held on to his 200 Africans who were captured and forced into slavery on his 1,000-acre plantation right here in Delaware. Rodney was willing to fight for white people's freedom, but wasn't willing to free captured Africans who were forced to be slaves. It was Delaware's Black Lives movement that influenced Wilmington without a debate or a fight over the removal of the Caesar Rodney statue from the town square. From Rodney Square, need to change the name of that. And here we are 4 years later. They named the redeveloped part after the slavery Rodney. Those responsible for this recent insult must think that Delaware Black Lives Matter has died out. And what's up with Wilmington City Council other than Shanae Darby? Why not name the park after Samuel D. Burris, a free African from Delaware who risked his life as a conductor on the Underground Railroad? Burris assisted enslaved Africans to safely navigate through Delaware into Pennsylvania. Burris was an African hero at best, because Delaware law severely punished people who aided escaping slaves, and Delaware also was one of the last two states to finally agree to free the captured Africans. And here's something real crazy. The reason Delaware was one of the last states, first of all, because Delaware didn't succeed from the Union. In the Emancipation Proclamation, only freed slaves that succeeded, that were in states that succeeded from the Union. And since Delaware stayed in the Union, the plantation owners here were able to keep their slaves. Mm-hmm. An interesting thing, I saw this, what they call it, Christian nationalist, evangelical pastor, bastard, whatever he was, talking about when black people served in elective office. The first black man to serve in elective office was something like in the early 1700s or something, before there was even a United States. And by 1875, there were over 1,000 black elected officials. And that's how he told that story. By 1875, there were over 1,000. And when did Italy elect its first black person to elective office? Not until 2022 or something like that. In Britain, not until 1986 or whatever. And by 1875, there were 1,000 black elected officials. And he said that as if to say, from that first one in the late early 1700s, black people were being elected all along. BS. Because the vast majority of black people that were elected by 1875 didn't get elected until 1870. The hell you think you can? See, that's why you got to know your history. All those black people that were elected in office, they was doing Reconstruction. It wasn't like it was an ongoing thing. Oh, America was one of the first to free its slaves after a bloody-ass war. After a bloody-ass war, when more people were killed in that war up to that date than any conflict or war America had had up until that date. And you're still like in the top 3 deaths in war in America. Man, you must be kidding me. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. Learn your history, learn your history, learn your history. Because if you don't, they'll lay anything on you. And that's what they plan to do. Tell you any old kind of crap, have people believe in it. Yeah. It's like the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Yeah. Black quarterback and everything. And what was the big talk? The big talk was Kendrick Lamar and his halftime show. Yeah, you should have seen Fox News. The cat on Fox News, oh, he was just hurt. Oh, it was just awful. It wasn't nothing but ninja stuff. That's all it was. And you had so many of them out there. They just didn't understand what it was about. They just didn't understand what it was. And this dude was on there saying, and who is Kendrick Lamar anyway? He's not even well known. No, well, I'll tell you what, 133 million people tuned into the halftime show. Yeah. 133 million tuned into the halftime show. And his song, They're Not Like Us, was the biggest hit of the summer. He won 5 Grammys. 5 Grammys. Okay? And that's not all. That's not all. He's not well known. I tell you who does know him. The people that award the Pulitzer Prize. Now, Pulitzer Prize in music is traditionally earmarked for jazz or classical music. Traditional. So this cat is a hell of a poet. That he was awarded a Pulitzer Prize. And a lot of people, of course, watching the Super Bowl halftime show, Kendrick Lamar's very creative, subliminal, very smartly done halftime show. Yeah. Oh. I tell you what. Not only was his show filled with subliminal messages, but he showed himself to be the king of pettiness, and I would say he hammered a nail in Drake's career, because his diss track was for Drake. That's what his nice sister Sherry said. Those of you that didn't see the halftime show, the internet was loaded with posts about it, with analysis. And I tell you, one of the interesting things are all the white people that came out with on-point analysis. And just some of the subliminal messages that Kendrick laid on us. Samuel L. Jackson playing Uncle Sam, a.k.a. the house Negro, like he played in Django. And of course, his message was a lot harder, actually. Yeah. And and that upset, what's her name? The racist hussy that got kicked off at NBC, was on Fox News, Megyn Kelly. Now, they had a black Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is white. He just is. Uncle Sam is a fictional character. Man, Samuel L. Jackson is Uncle Sam, warning Kendrick Lamar to play the game white America wants us to play and not be ghetto. Yeah. The dancers in red, white, and blue represent the American flag. The stage was also being a prison yard where black performers harmonized while he rapped. And not only that, it was a game controller. This guy's really, really brilliant, man. Yeah. In his song, They're Not Like Us, one of the things is that you better keep Serena Williams' name out your mouth. Protecting black women. And once again, reminding Drake in America, they not like us. That's what. And I tell you something. Here's another complaint. Let me see if I can get with you. All right. Just give me a little grief there. That's okay. Here's another complaint. Oh, they real upset. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And they didn't like it because they were not centered. You know, they get real upset when they're not centered. Because this is what quite a few of them said, including that clown from Fox News that didn't get it. He said it was monochromatic. But I tell you, racists are going to come up with some terms so you can't. It was monochromatic in its blackness. Meaning there wasn't no damn white people on there. Hundreds of dancers, and this is from one I pulled offline. Sister Tracy posted. Hundreds of dancers are participants in this halftime show, and they can't manage to feature one single white person. This is just pathetic. Just pathetic. Yeah, it makes me think when the first Black Panther movie came out, it was just too black. You know, it was plenty of white people in the first Black Panther, but it was just too black. And we didn't complain about Lord of the Rings had 6 movies and wasn't a black person in the whole goddamn movie. Get out of here. Hundreds of dancers and participants in the halftime show, and they can't manage to feature one single white person. Nah. You know why? Because we got rid of DEI. Y'all ain't understand it anyway. DEI means you qualify, therefore we're going to open the door for you. Because you don't like diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we're going to go with the meritocracy. Y'all ain't had no dancers dance like them black people. So your DEI is not enough. We're not having it. Not having it. That's right. Oh, you didn't like diversity, equity, and inclusion? Then we ain't going to include your ass. You couldn't dance any damn way. And like I said, you don't even know what DEI is. Or what it includes. For instance, thank cousin Devonna for this. DEI includes ramps and sidewalk curb cuts. It includes subtitles and captions on your TV and your phone. It includes changing tables in men's restrooms. It includes breastfeeding pumping stations and accommodations. DEI includes floating paid holiday, pay equity, and transparency. Parental leave, time and pay. DEI includes coming back to a job after birthing a child. DEI includes not having to just accept workplace harassment. DEI includes work accommodations for a variety of disabilities, flexible work arrangements, size-inclusive chairs and beds in medical facilities, belt extenders on planes, and that list goes on. But see, in their mind, DEI means black. That's what's in their mind. DEI means black. So they need to cut it off. See, that's how they do. Anytime they want to get rid of something, like I told you that last week. Anytime they want to get rid of something, they put a black label on it. And that's what Reagan did back in Ronald Reagan, may he roast in hell, may the devil sodomize him with a pitchfork, with the welfare queen stuff. Even though there are more white people on welfare or on food stamps and what have you. Fast forward to 2025. Last week, what I see? Food stamp fraud run amok. Just a line of people doing the perp walk for food stamp fraud. And every last one of them, I was like, damn, wait a minute. Wasn't no black people there. Yeah. Wasn't no DEI in that ish, was it? Yeah, because we didn't want to be included in your fraud. One of them was a restaurant owner, and here's what he would do. He would get people that have welfare, or what do they call it, SNAP benefits, the welfare, the food stamp card, and pay them 50 to 60 cents on the dollar. And that's how he would stock his restaurant. Yeah, seemed like a good idea today. Locked your cracker ass up, didn't it? And he voted for Trump. WHGE 95.3 FM, the open eye. Woo. WHGE 95.3 FM. The Open Eye. Your host, third eye optometrist Patrice Gibbs here. Yeah. They don't want you educated. Yeah, co-presidents Trump and Musk, or Junior President Musk. Oh, how could you say that? Junior President Musk. I mean, no. Junior President Trump, excuse me. Oh, y'all didn't see Musk with his little son, named the boy X. With his little son, don't y'all never say nothing about no ghetto black name. Name the boy X. I don't know if that's his whole name or what, but he's undisciplined little bastard. Oh, don't say that about children. They made him that way. You see him in the Oval Office, first of all, by the Orange Disaster rules, you don't come in the Oval Office not dressed for business. And you don't bring your kid in there to act up. Well, that's exactly what elongated muskrat did. And the boy told Trump, get up from there and be quiet. You ain't the president. Now, where do you get that? Because children are echo chambers. That's where he got that. He got that from his father. Now, y'all running around, these FAFO people, still ain't caught on. Yeah? Lost your farm, huh? I feel so sorry for you. You voted for Trump. You didn't vote for that. Like the teacher in Florida. She voted for Trump. Yeah, she didn't vote. Vote to get shut down. Yeah. Because if you're educated, you're not fit to be a slave. So for all you applauding President Trump and Elon Musk for tearing down the Department of Education, y'all need to go back to school or even do a simple search on the old internets, because you have zero clue what the Department of Education actually does. And I really, really hope none of you have kids with IEPs or 504 plans, because you're about to find out the hard way just how much this department does to protect their education. Here's a reality check on what the Department of Education actually does. It protects students with disabilities. It enforces IEPs. Those are individual education programs and 504 plans under the Individuals with Disability Education Act and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. Without this, schools could refuse accommodations to kids who need them. What the Department of Education does: it ensures equal access to education. It enforces Title IX, protecting students from sex discrimination. Title VI, protecting students from racial discrimination, and laws ensuring English language learners and low-income students get a fair shot. It provides federal education funding. It sends billions to public schools, Title I schools, low-income students, special education programs, and Pell Grants for college students. It oversees federal funding. It oversees federal student loans and manages programs like public service loan forgiveness, income-driven repayment plans, and loan relief programs. And it said you'll still be responsible for paying the loans you've already taken out, regardless of if the DOE gets disbanded. It holds schools accountable. It investigates discrimination. It ensures civil rights laws are followed, prevents fraud in higher education, like scam colleges that would like the one ran by the Orange disaster. Like, just take your money and leave you with useless degrees. Yeah, you could get a degree in what is that? Rock, paper, scissors, basket weaving, toenail filing. The Department of Education supports teachers in education research. It funds initiatives to improve teaching methods, early childhood education, and STEM programs to keep our kids competitively globally. Woo! That's a big one. What it doesn't do, it does not control what your kids learn. State and local school boards decide curriculum, unfortunately. Textbooks and what's taught in history or science class. The Department of Education doesn't force any particular agenda on schools in spite of the lies they tell you. It does not run public schools. Schools are managed by states and local districts, not the federal government. It does not hire or fire teachers. Teachers' salaries, hiring, and qualifications are determined by state laws and local school boards. It does not mandate Common Core. That's a state decision. It does not regulate private schools. Private and religious schools operate independently. And while some federal protections apply, the Department of Education doesn't dictate how they run. It does not set tuition prices for colleges. Public universities are funded by state governments, and they set their own tuition. The Department of Education only provides federal aid and loan programs. So congratulations to all of you cheering for the gutting of the one department that protects millions of kids, students with disabilities, college students, and teachers. I just hope when reality smacks you in the face, you remember that you applauded taking away protections for your own children, neighbors, and future generations. I'm going to tell you something about you welfare recipient red states who take more from the government than it puts in. Your kids going to be some dumbasses. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. Boom, boom, cold gas life, yeah. Patrice Gibbs, your third eye optometrist here. Oh yeah, they're getting bold. They're getting bold. They're doing all kind of crazy stuff. Seeing this guy pulled over some people in their truck and pretended he was ICE, some Hispanic people, and took the car key out the ignition. Yeah, y'all speak Spanish. I'm ICE. He wasn't ICE. He's just some racist fool. Got locked up too, and got fired from his job. Got locked up for impersonating a federal officer. He's gonna do some time too, and he should. Ain't seen a dude. Man, this cat was real crazy. He went up in the Bronx walking around talking about white power. They whooped his ass and ran him off. And what we tell y'all last time that fool got elected? He got Secret Service security. You don't. Oh yeah, and they're not gonna stop. They're not gonna stop because they just want to antagonize black people. So a group of them got together and put on their Nazi uniforms. Yeah. In Cincinnati, Ohio, FAFO season, and they went out on the street calling the N-word and all kind of stuff. Over the last several months, there has been an uptick in white supremacists spreading hate in Ohio. In November, a Nazi march took place in Columbus. Just 1 month later, disturbing racist signs were popping up all over Cleveland. Another neo-Nazi demonstration took place in Ohio last week on the Interstate 75 overpass near Cincinnati. Even though 13 men were dressed in black, waving swastika and blazing flags, black residents from Lincoln Heights community had enough and confronted them. You know what? The cops came out. Yeah, the cops are there. They didn't arrest nobody. Told you about that. They out there calling the N-word and threatening people, terroristic threatening. And the cops ain't arrest nobody. They came out there and protected them. Especially after the residents demand that the demonstrators leave, and even set fire to one of the flags. Among those who stood up to the white supremacists was Jamal Howard, who told local news outlet that neo-Nazis fled the scene under the protection of the cops. Yeah, they jumped in their U-Haul and went on. I tell you what, y'all keep on. Y'all keep on, because who you haven't dealt with yet are these young ninjas, young black men that been playing, what is that, combat patrol and shooting Nerf guns since they were 6 years old. Keep playing. Keep playing. Mm-hmm. Gonna find out the hard way. FAFO season. That's word. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I talked about when I was talking about the Department of Education is how they don't want you educated. They don't want you to know history. think that basically they're pretty much embarrassed by history. For, you got these photos that are coming up on the internets that are showing how the mayonnaise mafia behaved during school desegregation times and what have you. The hatred in when doing the sit-ins in diners. Yeah, it was your grandma and your mom. They showed the photos of the lynchings. There were little kids there, smirking and smiling at the black person that was lynched and murdered. And they don't want you to know the real history of Europe. That's why they make movies like Lord of the Rings and Excalibur, which is a really good movie that I enjoy. But they ain't getting to the Robin Hood and what have you. They ain't telling you the real history of Europe. They give you this glamorous view of European royalty, and, what happened to this? How did history get lost? And of course, the answer, it wasn't lost. It was intentionally ignored. It was intentionally dropped. There's a professor that comes on, and I forget what he calls himself, but he became a white dude too. Oh, we didn't want you to know that there was this thriving civilization that put lamps up that were powered by petroleum 1,000 years ago, talking about Benin. And we're doing cataract surgery 1,000 years ago while Europeans were living in little towns like Paris, where they were where the streets were literally their sewage system. They would actually throw fecal matter and urine out the window, and it would flow in the rain into the wells, which is why they couldn't drink the water. Because if you drank the water, you would die of dysentery instantaneously. And if you did, right? So, you know what they had to do? They could only drink beer and wine. And so they're constantly drunk. Constantly drunk. But it's okay because they smell like fecal matter and urine. And so it was a way to compensate. And you had to wear wool. So they're always walking around itching. And you smell like poop and piss and you itching. You might as well be drunk. Damn. Yeah, nah, they don't want that told. You kidding me? Yeah. It was this, this is from Sister Just Amazingly. Another historian. She kicking, watch some of this history. People doing it. That's why they got the Hilltop University. Put that in your search engine. Learn something. Sister Just Amazingly said, they hate us. And they don't want us to know our history. And that's not by accident, it's by design, because of truth. If people actually knew the real history, this country would not function the way it does. They don't teach U.S. history, they teach U.S. propaganda. Oh, slavery was bad, but Abraham Lincoln fixed it. Let's move on. Jim Crow racism ended in 1965. Didn't you know that? What? The Native American no, that's manifest destiny, baby. We're supposed to do that. They erased the truth because if people knew just how deep injustice runs, they might actually demand change. It's no coincidence with the same people that are banning books are the ones that are trying to rewrite history. Florida banned lessons on systemic racism. Texas rewrote slavery as involuntary relocation. Can you spell kidnap? And Tennessee teachers can't even talk about white supremacy. Get fired. They're not just controlling history, they're controlling how people think. Ever wonder why the government wants you focused on the good old days? If people don't really know what happened, they won't see patterns repeating. Get with that. If they erase the fight for rights, people won't know how to demand them. If you keep people ignorant, they'll accept the system instead of changing it. It's all about control, and it's working. They don't want us to know the real history of this country because real history is radicalizing. Real history shows just how power works, and real history reminds us that change is possible. So read the banned books, dig deeper questions. Dig deeper, question everything. Because history is not just in the past. It's happening right now. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. All right. Yes, indeed. And going overtime, that's okay. Yeah, we're going to go a little over today. Patrice Gibbs, third eye optometrist. A quote from Harry Truman. Once a government is committed to the principle of silencing the voice of opposition, it only has one way to go, and that is down the path of increasingly repressive measures, until it becomes a source of terror to all its citizens and creates a country where everyone lives in fear. There are some people there, because you lose your job in certain places if you bring up certain things. And this is something that I've said to people repeatedly and often, because you need to learn something. You have no idea how horrific slavery was. They ate Nat Turner after they executed him, boiled his body for oil, and turned his remains into souvenirs. They ate him. Enslaved Africans' hair was used to stuff furniture, including pillows and mattresses, while their teeth were sold as dentures for white wealthy people, including but not limited to George Washington. George Washington had wooden teeth. No, he didn't. They took the healthy teeth of people that were enslaved and yanked them out there. You know how much that hurt? The skin of the enslaved individual was flayed and turned into leather for shoes and clothing. And some white families still have these artifacts. Pregnant black women were whipped on their stomachs to induce miscarriages. or forced to give birth under inhumane conditions. You need to have their infants sold off. Slave men and women were subject to brutal medical procedures without anesthesia, like I said, like tooth extraction. No consent. Tools like thumb screws and iron muzzles were used to silence them, while branding irons seared their skin with the marks of their enslaver, branding them like cattle. Rape was weaponized as a tool of control, with enslaved women forced to bear children who were automatically enslaved, perpetuating the cycle. Families were torn apart at auction blocks with children that were nothing more than toddlers, sold to distant plantations, never to see their parents again. Any of you that have children or remember being a child, remember how traumatic it was when you had to leave mom and dad? You were going back that night. These kids never see, and that's probably why we get traumatized. Our children get traumatized by that. Even after death, the bodies of enslaved people were desecrated. Their remains were often stolen from graveyards and used for medical dissections or experimentation. Their lives were treated as commodities, and their suffering was systematic, deliberate, and utterly inhumane. Slavery wasn't just a labor system, it was a calculated mechanism of dehumanization, being a legacy of cruelty and trauma that reverberates through history to this day, and there still is no recompense or reparations for the descendants of the enslaved. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Education Advocacy Station. All right, DEI. All right. As the Orange Disaster and Musk regime continues to scour federal agencies of all DEI programs and initiatives, a U.S. military recruiting agency recently announced that it will no longer recruit potential service members from a renowned black engineering event. On Monday, military.com reported that the Army and other service branches will end their enlistment efforts at the Black Engineer of the Year Awards, an annual event that invites students, academics, and professionals with expertise in science, technology, engineering, and math. In compliance with Department of Defense and Headquarters Department of the Army guidance, U.S. Army Recruiting Command would not participate in the upcoming BEA event. Service members and civilians are permitted to attend this event in an unofficial personal capacity if they choose to do so. Because they want meritocracy. Let me tell you something about the Black Engineer of the Year Awards and about the military. The military is permeated with black people. Permeated. A very large percentage of those serving in the U.S. military are black. And those that have been recruited at events like the Black Engineer Year Award are some of the best available. And I didn't say some of the best black people. I said some of the best. But they're going to shut them out. Okay? Stop recruiting there so they can bring in meritocracy. And what you're going to get are people who are going to be out of their element, out of their skill set. And the only reason that they're going to get the jobs they get because they're white. And this will be the decline of the U.S. military. Oh, you don't think so? Because every time the U.S. military got in trouble, they said, you know what, I guess we better go ahead and let these black people fight. From the bloody-ass Civil War, which they were losing until blacks were allowed to fight in the war, shut the South down. World War II. World War II. It was not for opening up the fighting, the actual combat, to black soldiers, to black military personnel, black engineers who are highly skilled. Let me tell you about somebody here. I know I told you about this cat before. I'm gonna bring it up now because you need to know this. One brother that was not allowed to fight on the American flag was Eugene Jacques Bullard. You know who that is? Yeah, but a lot of you probably don't. Don't feel bad because probably not one American in a million knows who Eugene Jacques Bullard is. And that's because of crap like this. Eugene Jacques Bullard is the first African-American fighter pilot in history, but not in the U.S. But he's also much more than that. He's also a national hero. And his story is so incredible that I bet if you wrote a movie script based on it, Hollywood would reject it as being too far-fetched. Yeah, I got you, Steve. Bullard was an expat living in France, and when World War I broke out, he joined the French infantry. He was seriously wounded, and French awarded him the Croix de Guerre and Medal Militaire. Yeah, I'm not French. I don't speak. I may not be pronouncing that right, but that's right. In 1916, he joined the French Air Service. And he was first trained as a gunner, but later he trained as a pilot. When American pilots volunteered to help France and form the famous Lafayette Escadrille, he has to join. But by the time he became a qualified pilot, they were no longer accepting any new recruits. So he joined the Lafayette Flying Corps instead. He served with French flying units and completed 20 combat missions. When the United States finally joined the war, Bullard was the only member of the escadrille of the French Flying Corps who was not invited to join the U.S. Air Service. The reason? At the time, the Air Service only accepted white men. Now, here's the part that almost sounds like a sequel to Casablanca. After World War I, Bullard became a jazz musician in Paris. How you like that? This guy was something else. And he eventually owned a nightclub called El Escadrille. When Germans invaded France and conquered it in World War II, his club and Bullard became hugely popular with German officers. But what they didn't know was that Bullard, who spoke fluent German, was actually working for the Free French as a spy. He eventually joined the French infantry unit, but he was badly wounded and had to leave the service. By the end of the war, Bullard had become a national hero in France. But he later moved back to the U.S., just stayed over there, where he was, of course, completely unknown. Practically no one in the United States was aware of it, when in 1959 the French government named him a National Chevalier, or a knight. In 1960, the president of France, Charles de Gaulle, paid a state visit to the United States, and when he arrived, he said one of the first things he wanted to do was to meet Eugene Jacques Bullard. That sent the White House staff scrambling, because most of them, of course, had never even heard of him. They finally located him in New York City, and de Gaulle traveled there to meet him personally. At the time, Eugene Jacques Bullard was working as an elevator operator. I'm sorry y'all are, man. Not long after Eugene Jacques Bullard met with President of France, he passed away. And today, very, very few Americans, and especially African Americans, even know who he is. But now you know, because you listen to the Open Eye, don't you? And I hope you'll be able to find opportunities to tell other people about this great black hero that probably only one American in a million has ever even heard of. Yeah. Why us? Why us? Tell you something, African in America is the most abused, most wounded of all Africans throughout the system of global white supremacy. Yeah. Because of all the Africans throughout the world, the African in America is the most dangerous. Let me tell you something. America, the African in America, is the most highly trained of any African in the world. He is trained in the art of war, specifically in the technique of combined strike. That is a technique to strike from land, air, and sea. Now, immediately after World War II, the African in America had the skill to produce the most dangerous air force on the planet. What? Yeah. Bar none. Make no mistake about it. This is not conjecture, not hyperbole. It can be stated without prejudice. The Tuskegee Airmen were the absolute best. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, so they're thinking, we're cutting out DEI in the military. Is that they're going to shut down the skill of the black soldier. Yeah. The oppressor, the colonizer, in his efforts to keep Africa, the African in America, separated, like I told you, from other Africans on the continent and throughout the world, throughout the diaspora. All right, and despite their best efforts, the influence of the African in America cannot be discounted or stymied. Who is it? What's the brother's name? Or the cat's name? Muslim white dude. King, what is his name? King Bolson or something like that. He said America's greatest export is the culture of the African American. Because Africans throughout the world, in the Caribbean, in South America, Europe, and on the African continent, still look to the African America to lead the way out of the abyss of oppression. And we will. Should the African America become fully aware of who he is in the world, become aware of his real awesome power, the world will be a very different place. Wake up. I'm Patrice Gibbs. This is The Open Eye. All right. The Open Eye coming to a close, and like I usually tell you, I hope you learned something, because I learned something before I got here. Destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays, and therefore, value those who value you, and don't treat those as a priority who treat you as an option. I'm Patrice Gibbs. This has been Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM. Thanks for joining us. All right. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Really appreciate you. And like I always tell you, global African supremacy is on the way.